What if I told you that 2 appointments a week could get you more than 40 closings every year? That's the system that Trey Willard used to close more than 600 deals. And here's the exciting thing. He's going to break down how to win in what he calls the action economy, where success doesn't just come from knowing what to do, but by actually doing it. So if you're ready for some simple, executable strategies to have your best year ever, this conversation is for you. Now, let's go collaborate with Trey. What if I told you that 2 appointments a week could get you 40 plus closings per year? That's what my friend Trey Willard does. He's created this system and it generates incredible results. And he's going to be sharing that with us today. Trey, I'm so excited that you joined us today. I appreciate you carving out the time. Are you ready to collaborate with Cole?
Cole, I thought you would never ask, my friend. I am so very excited to collaborate with you today.
Oh man, you next leveled it. I appreciate it. We kind of rehearsed it, guys, and he just next leveled it. So I can't tell you how much I appreciate that. What's interesting is when I was doing a little bit of investigative work before we got together here, before Jimmy Burgess kind of connected us, I saw one of your videos and one of the reels that you posted, and it really resonated. And it was about, I think you were in a team meeting, and I basically just kept hitting pause so I could, write the stuff down, but it was around stress and anxiety. It was stress and anxiety feed on idleness. When you take action, you starve them of the oxygen they need to survive. That's the correct. Answer is found in the action. Obviously it goes on, but man, that was so powerful. And I thought, what a great kind of tee this episode up, because you're huge on action. And I got to ask you, honestly, I know how busy you are. I know how structured and disciplined you stay, and you have accountability checks and all kinds of stuff. So I was really surprised and impressed when I reached out to you and just about helping your fellow agents, our friends listening right now. And almost immediately you're like, I'm in. How can I help? So, what compelled you to do that, knowing how busy you are?
So busy is a term I think a lot of people use incorrectly.
Okay.
Right. And what I mean by that is, we all have the same 24 hours in a day, the same 24 hours that Donald Trump or Elon Musk or any big, powerful CEO of any business has. We all have the same amount of time. It's interesting to see how some people are able to get so much done in that same 24 hours where other people, they don't, unfortunately. And the excuse or the term is always like, oh, I'm busy. Okay, cool. Busy doing what?
Busy doing what? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So when you ask me to do this and I say, look, yes, I want to give back to the agent community that has given so much back to me. I'm in. I'll make time for that. Right. Because it's important. It's important for me to, I have a lot of purpose and I get a lot of joy from coaching, consulting, motivating, leading. So anytime that I get to do that, I am so number one, blessed, grateful, but it gives me so much energy. So when you said this, I was like, dude, let's go.
Yeah, that was pretty much your response. We'd never met, we had the mutual connection with Jimmy, but I loved it, man. Because I know what kind of numbers you're putting up, and it's, that's not a brag. It's just the truth. It's facts. So for you to take, carve time out and share some of your trade secrets and just kind of, like you said, give back it's very impressive. So let's start with that idea. Based on that quote that I just read from, I guess it was a team meeting that you were having around action. So you talk a lot about this action economy. You say success isn't about knowing more, right? It's about doing more. So can you walk us through that? What does that mean to you?
It just for me, it is as simple as it is taking action. And what I mean by that is we all have these wonderful, great ideas, right? And what happens is we sit in these ideas and we ponder these ideas and we talk about how great these ideas are, but how rarely do you actually say, all right, If I were to implement this great idea and I was just to start with just one step, what is that one step? And it's like the old saying, how do you eat an elephant? Right? One bite at a
One bite
time.
at a time. Right.
So I am a big systems and processes kind of guy. So meaning if I have the process, I can disconnect myself from the results. And I know that everything in my life, this is just purely experience, right? So like if you don't have experience, it's hard to buy into something. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's like the experience that I've had in, selling real estate, building a team, building a business that I was consistently selling, 30 to 60 houses a month every year. I mean, excuse me, a year, every year for 15 years. It's not rocket science. It's just a system, and it all comes down to consistency. So when you could figure out what are the leading KPIs on whatever it is that you want to do. So I'll give you a perfect example. This is real estate related, but almost non-real estate related. So we're working on this lead funnel that I was telling you about earlier, and it's purely based on recruiting. So if you think about a lead funnel and you think about, like, all right, one of the big things I want to do is I want to bring value to other agents inside of my market, New Orleans, Mandeville, Covington, the markets that we service. Okay. So if I think about it and I'm like, man, I really want to provide value. Like, what do I say? And then how many pieces of content do I need? When are we going to film the content? What is the lead magnet going to look like? Where am I going to get the email list? You get what I'm saying? Like all of a sudden now that concept becomes very overwhelming. And for most people, paralysis will set in and nothing will happen. For me, I've already said, marketing director and I, Tyler, we have a brainstorm meeting where we're going to take all of this and we're just going to put it in action items. So step one is we've completed the roadmap, the quote unquote playbook. So basically we're going to use the playbook as the outline to create the content. I have a videographer already basically on staff. So we're going to get with him. We're going to batch all of our content. So we're going to say we're going to shoot 3 weeks worth or 6 weeks worth of content. Depends on if we're going to do a or a weekly thing or if we're going to do a monthly thing. We haven't really decided that yet. So either it's going to have 12 pieces of content or it's going to have 26 pieces of content, which I think I'm leaning more towards the 26. So every other week, agents who are inside of our quote unquote marketing funnel, because this is a recruiting, piece of content. Now every 2 weeks, they're hearing kind of like this, you saw my reel where I basically just took a quote that was written and I read it, just some items of value. But it has to start with the, brainstorming, brain dumping session. And then we build out the plan and then we execute on the plan.
So in that analogy or in that example, I mean, you could substitute recruiting agents with selling homes, right? It doesn't matter. You're breaking it down into
and that's exactly why I wanted to use that as an example, because we are going to get into breaking down what we're going to do to sell homes, but it doesn't matter. And it goes back to like, you've probably been taught the SMART goal system, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Specific. Number one, is the goal specific? Yes or no? If it's not specific, let's get specific first. The second part is this measurable, right? Meaning, can we track and measure if we're having progress or not having progress? Then you look at attainable, which is SMA, right? So the A for SMART is attainable. Is it impossible? Can we do this? Like where do we stand? And then R, relevant, right? Why is this relevant to you? So again, what's kind of the motive of why you're doing this? And then T, what's the time frame this will be completed by? So every goal that you do in your entire, you make in your entire life should follow that process.
So what's an example of your typical real estate agent has this goal? What would that goal be that it's not necessarily a SMART goal? Like there's no meat to it. You haven't broken down the steps to attain that goal.
Yeah. So I want to sell 24 homes, or I want to make $100,000 a year.
And that's like the goal, but there's nothing like, what's the plan? right? Is
100%.
yeah,
Tom Ferry said something that has stuck with me my entire life. So I was a coach for Tom Ferry for 4 years, and Tom and I are still very, very good friends. We
okay. He's in
still
Dallas
talk
right
all the
now.
time. He is,
He's
yes. So
right
Summit,
down the street in Dallas here.
I've
Yeah.
got 7 of my agents at Summit right now. Only reason I'm not going is we're going actually to go visit with Jimmy and 30A on Friday.
I thought you were going to say it was because of our podcast, our interview.
Oh, well, and definitely because of the podcast. But
thank you.
So Tom said something to us when we were coaches, and it was a SMART goal. He always said this. He said, the world will reward the specific and punish the vague.
Mm-hmm. I like that.
Yeah, that's like one of those ones you just keep like, don't ever forget it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I tell my agents all the time, like every time they give me a goal that is vague, I say, hey, look, this is a little too vague. Let's make it a little bit more specific. So it all goes back to anchoring, Cole, the why. And Brendan Burchard and I am like, when it comes to personal development, I am like, I don't want to say a guru, but I listen to everything. I read everything. I prescribe to everything, obviously from like credible folks, right? But Brendan Burchard said, you know, you've been told a lie this entire time. You know, of course, that's the hook. And what he means, and he was talking specifically about discipline. He says, everybody says you need to have discipline in order to complete X, Y, and Z. And there is some truth to that. But what he said, which was interesting, was he said, without a motive, discipline is irrelevant.
Yeah, no, that's true. Yeah, that's huge.
So you could be disciplined about a lot of things, but if you're not motivated or driven by whatever that one thing is that you need to be disciplined about, then what in the world does discipline have to do with anything?
Yeah. What are you disciplined for?
What are you disciplined for? So by saying that, right, it always goes back to anchoring on the why, right? And what is the why? And how do we really extract that from the agents? And when we can figure out why they're doing this, because one of the questions, and this was something that came that was brought to my attention here recently, which I've never thought about, this is like when I'm interviewing with agents, is what happens if you are not successful in real estate? What if this doesn't work out?
Like, what's the worst thing that can happen? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, but like if you're asking someone that you're interviewing that either A, is already an agent, or B, maybe it's a brand new agent who's just now coming into. So the question to them is, hey, I'm just curious, like, what if this doesn't work out? And somebody tells me it can't not work out. There is nothing else. That's very different from the person that says, well, if it doesn't work out, I guess I could go back and do what I've been doing.
Yeah.
That's a very different type of person. You follow me? Because that other person already in their mind is like, well, if this doesn't work out, I got something else I can go to.
Yeah.
But the person who says, I don't have another option,
they're all in.
This or nothing. That tells me who's going to be successful in the organization.
They're all in for sure.
Yeah. Yep.
I like what you said about just while ago about essentially analysis paralysis, right? Because and just as salespeople in general, myself included, we tend to focus on the results. And if you could just maybe change that mindset a bit, like instead of I've got to get 2 listing appointments this week, maybe it's I got to make 55 phone calls this week. You're focusing more on the process instead of that end result. I think it almost kind of changes the whole mindset when you're approaching that, going through it.
It does. And if you know that 55 conversations is going to equal 2 met, whatever, a buyer appointment or consultation or a listing consultation, then that becomes the goal.
Right.
Or that becomes the discipline.
Yeah.
And if you're tracking and measuring, because when you track and measure performance improves.
Absolutely.
Right. And when you're tracking and measuring, am I winning? Am I losing? And when you can figure out as dialed in as something like that is how many conversations do I have to have that lead to an appointment set, an appointment met, a signed buyer rep, or a listing agreement, then that is the only thing that matters.
Absolutely. And that ties right into something else that you do talk about a lot, which is it all basically comes down to conversations, right? So
100%.
Why do you believe conversations are like the single most important thing an agent should probably focus on?
Well, because one cannot happen without the other, right? So if you look at KPIs in real estate, so just play this out with me. So a conversation inevitably has to happen before an appointment set or met can happen. Do you agree with that? Now, it could be a Zillow real-time tour that you accept, right? I didn't necessarily have a conversation with you necessarily to set that appointment. However, it came through. There's likely going to be a conversation where that conversation is like me following up via text. It's me calling you and saying, "Hey, Cole, it looks like you want to see the house at 123 Main Street today. Hey, just wanted to follow up. Did you want to add, or what other homes would you like to see while we're out and about on our tour? Hey, Cole, what specifically was it about this house that had you reach out to us today?" Okay. But either way, because somebody somewhere is going to challenge me on, no, a conversation doesn't have to happen in order for an appointment set. So like we could be, whatever. I'm just saying conversations lead to appointment set, and then an appointment set inevitably meaning you can't set an appointment or meet with somebody unless you've set an appointment. Now you can hold an open house. Somebody could walk through the door and you didn't necessarily, but are you really having a quote unquote buyer consultation with someone who is qualified to buy and or sell? Or are you dealing with somebody who might be a looky loo or whatever it might be?
Might have another agent, might, you never know. Yeah.
100%. So like as we're going through the KPIs, it's a conversation, which leads to an appointment set, which leads to an appointment met, which if I deliver a high enough value, they're going to sign a buyer rep with me or a listing agreement with me. I'm either going to show them homes or I'm going to list their home. And then inevitably we're going to negotiate a contract and we're going to get to a closing.
So if you had to track only one number, appointments or conversations, which one would you bet your business on and why?
Appointments met. And the reason I would is because the conversations and appointments set inevitably will take care of themselves if you're going on the appointment, if you're meeting with someone, meaning those things have taken care of themselves. So I'm not worried about that. And if I just want to get in front of people who have motivation to buy, sell, or invest in real estate, to me, that is that's exactly who I want to be in front. I want to be in front of.
That makes sense.
So everybody should. And again, if there's like the one thing in their business, Gary Keller and Jay Papasan wrote a great book, The One Thing, where if I were only do one thing today, that inevitably is going to move the needle in my business or my personal life. What is that one thing where everything else is irrelevant? So I would tell every real estate agent, you need to have conversations with people about real estate, right? You need to make it a priority to go meet with a minimum of two. And the reason I say two is if you meet with two people every week, and let's just say you decide to work 46 weeks out of the 52-week year, because I want you to take vacations, that's 96 people that you will have met with through an entire year. And if you look at just standard residential met to set to sign appointments, or set to met to signed appointments, you're probably looking at somewhere between, I bet you it's going to be a 60% ratio to a 70% ratio on an appointment set to met. And then you're probably looking at somewhere between 60 and 65%, if not higher, depending on your skill level, from a met to signed. So when you run all of those metrics through, you're running somewhere north of like high 30s, low 40 homes sold per year by only focusing on 2 met appointments per week.
Give me those metrics again. Set to met is 60 to 70.
Yeah. So our team right now, we're running about 55%. Now that 55% is not right, but that's what I can see in Sisu. That is a poor job by my agents moving the stages. But if you just look at industry standard, it's going to say somewhere between probably 60 and 70% of the time that you set an appointment, you will meet with that person.
Okay.
And then on the same, this is in the MREA. So if anybody wants to challenge me, the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book was written with these statistics. And that book is written 20 years ago.
Still holds true today.
Gary Keller he's still preaching the same message as far as like 60 to 70% on the met to sign or met to set or set to met, and then 60 to 70% likely on a signed. So I would say your signed is probably going to be, because they say, look, they've ran the same studies and the same survey with the National Association of Realtors for the last 10 plus years. And guess what it says? It says 85% of the time, a buyer is only going to interview one agent. So all of, and I wouldn't say I'm like this huge like data and analytic guy, but like when you know the numbers and you understand them and you understand percentages, and you know in your mind that there's an 85% chance that if I meet with this person's probably going to work with me. What do you think I want to do? I better go meet with a bunch of people. And all I'm doing every time I do that is I'm increasing my likelihood of having success in real estate. And you also, if you believe this, right? Meaning it's like the first thing is you have to believe this, right? And there's plenty of data that suggests that this is true. But the moment you believe it, it completely changes your mindset. So I think you have to get to the point of the belief, not only in yourself, but in the process.
Yeah. Yeah. Which that brings me to another thing that I've heard you speak about quite often. And, so I mean, having conversations, taking action consistently, the things that we're talking about requires the right mindset. And you've built some rock solid daily habits that fuel your momentum. So I'm curious, what does that look like for you, and how can other agents start building the same kind of mindset?
I'm going to give you a formula.
Okay.
And this was something Gary Keller said, and you'll hear me reference my, I guess my mentor. So Gary Keller, I was with Keller Williams for I started my career there. We just recently left. We're an independent real estate brokerage now, but I still think Gary he's the dude. Tom Ferry is the guy, when it comes to coaching. John Sheplack, very good friend of mine, same mentor, right? Talk to the guy multiple times per week. Gary said, learning plus knowledge plus confidence equals motivation. Okay. And what I mean by that is first you have to learn it. So think about like memorization versus internalization. Okay. First you read something, then you memorize something, then you internalize something. Does that make sense? So it's first I have to hear it, learn it, listen to it, right? And then I have the knowledge. Now I understand it. So I read it. Now I understand it. Now I have the confidence. So the confidence now leads me to give me the motivation to now go take action on whatever it is.
Yeah, that'll change everything.
Everything. And it's the compound effect. I mean, if you've read one personal development book and then you go read the other 1,000 personal development books, they're all relatively the same. They're just written in a different way. So when you hear, so if you go back to Napoleon's Hill, Think and Grow Rich, is the foundational personal development book probably of all time. It says, think and grow rich. And if you listen to anything that Jim Rohn said back in his heyday, he said the same exact thing, but he said it in a different way. And if you listen to all the other new gurus out there, they're saying the same thing. They just happen to say it in a different way. So when you hear it all the time, it's like, it's truth. It's like, okay, the Bible, right? If you believe in Jesus Christ and you read the Bible, there's so many truths. And I would say that that's probably the greatest personal development book.
Just read Proverbs every day, each month.
For 100%.
Yeah.
And that has been for me, a spiritual journey and it's like so many of these personal development, like they're rooted in the Bible. So it just comes back to repetition. To answer your question, how can agents develop the mindset? Number one, it's just repetition. Doing the same thing.
Walk us through maybe your first 60 minutes or so of the day. What does that look like for Trey?
Yeah. So for Trey, it's about 45 minutes. And I'll tell you, so I wake up at 5 every day. It's the same exact routine. It never changes. And my alarm goes off at 5. This is interesting. So, why am I blanking on, she just wrote the book, What It Let Them.
Mel Robbins.
Okay. So Mel Robbins, I listened to a podcast that she did years and years ago. And she basically was talking about when she wrote her first book that she was basically in bed and she was paralyzed. And you remember whenever she would talk about the She did the countdown, 10, 9, 8, 7. And then she was watching TV and there was a rocket ship. And she kept talking about, she would put her brain in a place to where she'd count down because she was in like a deep, dark depression. She couldn't get out of bed. And then for whatever reason, this countdown was like the thing that got her to get up and take action, which is interesting. But what she said was, and I'll never forget this, is like every time you hit the snooze button, your body starts a new cycle of sleep. So imagine like when you hit the snooze button multiple times and you wake up and you're like, gosh, dang it, I'm so tired. But you just kept hitting it for 10 minutes, but that 10 minutes was just enough to allow your body to get back into quote unquote, maybe not deep sleep, but at least in some form of sleep. So for me, when my alarm clock goes off, there is no ifs, ands, buts about it. I just get up, and I've trained myself by doing it so often. But I also know that if I hit that snooze button, I know in 10 minutes or 30 minutes or 45 minutes later, when that thing goes off again, I know I'm going to be more tired because science told me that I was going to be more tired, right? There's data around that. So I just say alarm clock goes off. So the reason I say that, Cole, is I think so many people are probably trying to get up early, and they don't realize that when that alarm clock goes off, if they just got up and they did that for a few weeks and created a discipline and a habit out of that, you'll never want to hit the snooze button again. So start there. That's like the foundation. So start there. And then I wake up and right now I'm reading a couple different books. Well Known and Wealthy by Rory Vaden. I went back to The Miracle Morning because I've read The Miracle Morning twice by Hal Elrod, and I do pieces of The Miracle Morning, but I've never done the whole Miracle Morning because I like to exercise in the afternoons. I don't want to exercise in the morning.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. So I'll read, and then I get a devotional from Joel Osteen every morning. And that's like the last thing I read. And it only takes me about 10 minutes. So I spend about 30 to 40 minutes every morning reading. Weekends I love the most. I take my kids to school every day. So when I was telling you, there's a limited amount of time. So I go get in the shower at 5:30, 5:40, get dressed. I cook and make my own breakfast every morning. And my kiddos, my wife gets them up. She gets them fed. She packs their lunch. I mean, she does all the stuff for the kids.
Okay.
6:45, we're out the door. I take them to school every day, and I go straight to the office. So I mean, I'm dressed at
7:15, 7:30.
7:30 every single day.
Yeah, I like that. And that knowing that you have something scheduled early in the morning, it all goes back to breaking down that process and being smart. That leads you to the evening before. You're probably keeping your body clean. You're not throwing down 6 beers, 4 whiskeys or whatever. You're trying to get in bed at a reasonable hour. And it just kind of, I love that. And
to mention what you just said, I'll give you like full transparency here. Like, my wife and I, we eat incredibly clean. We work out and train every day. We get outside. We walk for 30 to 45 minutes every day. I mean, we are some people would call us freaks, but that's okay. We eat incredibly clean. I eat out of a Tupperware container. There are 5 meals I eat a day. 3 of those are coming out of a Tupperware container. And then I had a point where I was going with this. Something's very specific. Oh, my wife and I. So like, we could, we would have like maybe once or twice a week, we'd have a couple glasses of wine, 2 glasses of wine. And it got to the point to where her and I both were like waking up and we just didn't quite feel the same. We didn't have that slight edge, just a little sluggish. So we just completely stopped drinking during the week, like altogether. And honestly, she went a long time. She went like a couple months without having zero.
Oh, not just in the week, but just solid week, everything.
Just solid, just because of the clarity,
the mental
that she
clarity.
Felt like she was 100%. So now I find myself, last night we went to dinner with some friends, we had a couple glasses of wine. I wake up this morning, I didn't go to bed at 9:30. I went to bed at 10:30 and I had a couple glasses of wine and I just didn't have that edge today.
No, I'm with you.
So like, so that's for me, it's all about like, how do I show up in like peak performance every single day? So it's just excluding things and getting rid of some things. Now I'm not, there's no judgment here because on a Friday and Saturday night, my wife, we're going to cook some fillets. we're going to drink a bottle of wine and we're going to watch a movie because that's what we do. But we earn that, right? And that's like what we like to do on Friday nights to unwind. So to answer your question, yes. And I think everybody needs to look at their life and they need to look at these disciplines and these things that they're doing. And like, are they in alignment with like where they're trying to go?
Right. Same. We don't drink during the week. And for me, just like you, worst thing in the world for me is to start the day off sluggish, like not being able to just launch out of bed. And I can trace back to what it was. Maybe I was pressed for time, so I had a cheeseburger. That's going to impact me tomorrow morning. My launch is about 4:30, 4:45 is when I'm launching out of bed. And then Fridays, that's adult snow cone afternoon at the Mexican food place here with some friends. So we're going to let loose a little bit and have fun, but Monday rolls around and we're ready to charge hard. I'm going off of memory here. One of another interview I saw, the 4 disciplines of execution.
Yep.
So
love it.
So walk us through that.
Yeah. So it's like the most simple concept in the world, but it's also probably one of the most impactful frameworks in the world. And it's, if people could just literally, like, if anybody got any value from this conversation right now, like, this is one that they should never forget. Number one, I was telling you earlier, remember, the world will punish the vague and reward the specific. Remember when I said that one? That was another one.
I like it.
So 4 disciplines of execution say this, and you and I started with this a little while ago. Earlier in the conversation, we were talking about your quote unquote motivation. So number 1 discipline is create the wildly important goal. And your goals are always going to change, right? So like for me right now, my goal of selling 50 houses is not necessarily the goal. The goal is just to hire 20 new agents before December 31st of 2025. Okay. That's the goal for me this last quarter. And I know exactly what has to happen in order to do that. I mean, I'm having conversations, I'm having interviews. We've got a full process for that, right? So that's the goal. To me, we need people. We're a Zillow Flex team. Zillow's giving us like freaking 500 connections a month, dude. It's like, I can't keep up. I need agents, right? So that's the goal for Q4. So like, the goal can always move. The goal doesn't have to be the same, but the goal, you probably have one goal that's going to be the core goal. And the core goal could be, I want to sell, and this is a specific goal. I'm going to sell 36 homes. Of the 36 homes that I'm going to sell, 75% of those 36 will come from listings. 25% will come from buyers. My average sales price is $300,000 with an average commission of 2.5%. You follow me? My 3 lead sources that I'm going to lean in are sphere of influence, past clients, online leads, and then for sale bonus expires. I will sell 36 homes by December 31st, 2025. Is that a specific goal?
Yeah, you get crystal clear on that.
And then I know too, seasonality wise, where they're coming from. So like in our market, where probably you're in Dallas, right? Somewhere near Dallas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In South Lake. Right? Yeah.
In South Lake. So our seasonality looks like a bell curve. It's 20% of the market's going to get absorbed in Q1. 30% is going to get absorbed in Q2. 30% is going to get absorbed in Q3, and then 20% in Q4. So I'm going to take those 36 homes, and then 20% of my business is going to come in Q1, 30%, 30%, 20%.
Makes sense.
So when I say like dialed in, like this is, everybody should know these things. Most people don't even know where to start because they don't have any direction. So somebody can really paint that picture for you and say, oh, have you thought about this? That's where the real coaching comes from. That's where the real mentorship comes from. It's helping people raise their capacity and expand their thinking because they've never had to think like that because no one's ever challenged them to be specific. So wildly important goal. Number 2 is act on lead measures. So you and I talked about lead measures. So if I said, what are the lead measures in real estate? They really don't change from what we talked about earlier. Conversations, appointments set, appointments met, buyers and seller reps sign, under contract, close. That is the path to sell real estate. Number 3, create a compelling scoreboard. So I would say we use Sisu. Beautiful. It's got awesome, dials on it. It's beautiful. CTE, which is commitment to excellence. Great tool, a lot of tracking and measuring. It's got great for like P&Ls and expenses and cost of sale and stuff like that. It's pretty awesome, but it's cheap. It's what I would use if I were like a solo agent, or your CRM may have. I think Follow Up Boss has like a pipeline. We don't use it, but it's there.
Yeah.
So like you have to create the compelling scoreboard. So it's always like, am I winning? Am I losing? If you're not keeping score, you're never going to know.
Yeah. If you're not measuring it and tracking it. Yeah.
Yeah. So when you track and measure performance improves.
Yeah.
And then the last one, and this is the piece that really pulls it all together, is create a cadence of accountability. That cadence of accountability is again, we talked about the accountability partner. Who's holding me accountable to these metrics, and who's inevitably going to say, hey, like, am I winning? Am I losing? This looks like you're going on a lot of appointments, but you're not meeting with a lot of people. So like, that's probably a skills issue. I'm meeting with a lot of people, but I'm not getting a lot of buyer reps or listing agreements signed. That's probably a skills issue. So now we need to know where we need to work on.
Tweaks on different things.
100%. Yeah. So if we need to work on presentation skills, then let's meet for an hour next week and let's go through your buyer presentation or your listing presentation. I want you to present to me as if I am a buyer or a seller, and let me decide if I'm going to hire you or not.
Yeah.
And then of course, we'll coach them through.
So maybe the appointments set and the appointments met are there, but the conversion is really, really weak. So that might be
correct.
Something in the script.
It's always going to be a skills issue. Always.
Okay. Let's talk about this scoreboard. Is this more for just a visual? Is that why you're creating the scoreboard? For the visual tracking?
To me, it's purely what it says. It's a scoreboard. Am I winning or am I losing?
Okay. And is this on your computer?
I need to know. Yeah. Can I don't know if I can I share my screen?
I think you can. That'd be great. Let's see here. Let me.
All right. So here. Let's see.
Is it letting you? Yeah.
All right. Can you see?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got
my screen. All right. If this is where we are, this is where we are. I never really, have a whole lot of faith, unfortunately, in my agents tracking and measuring. However, 384 homes under contract year to date. We've closed 320. We have 91 under contract right now.
Okay.
Here's the exact KPIs that I was just telling you and everyone else about. So this is year over year over year. So this is 23, 24, and 25. So you can see by looking at these visuals here, 25, the leading indicators should lead, right? So appointments set, appointments met, and signed units should lead to more closings. And look, what are you seeing here? Like so far this month, we've put 48 homes under contract. Last month, we put 55 homes under contract. We did 62 in March. Now, why are we not doing 62? The goal is 70. But what happens is this is the entrepreneurial roller coaster that every agent is on.
Yeah.
They start getting busy. Guess what? They had a great month in March. And guess what? They stopped doing the activities that got them there. Yep. And then now it's ramped back up. And I can show you that look at this. It happens all the time.
Yeah.
This is the entrepreneurial roller coaster. So now I can identify this. And
that's when prospecting becomes an emergency instead of a habit, right?
100%, and then year over year, you can see this year for the most part, right? We're up year over year in closed units when we're in a market. And again, this is like understanding your pendings versus your listings versus your close in your marketplace. Is the market up or down? Like we're starting to hit some consistency around this 52, is where we'll probably finish off this month. We'll probably finish off around 50 to 50, just north of 50 closed sales.
Look at that nosedive in September, though.
It's brutal. Now September hadn't started.
I'm just kidding. I'm just giving you a hard time.
I was like, no, don't say that. But no, September you can see, but this is like that whole Labor Day, kids go back to school. September for whatever reason is, but I tell them, I'm like, guys, this is what happens when y'all suck in August. Your September sucks, but then they're over here doing pretty good in October, and then they kind of coast through the month. But if you can see, like, this is what I was telling you about. I mean, the seasonality,
the 20, 30, 30, 20
plays out.
Yeah.
So anyways, and then you look at this. This is my favorite. as you can see, so you can see how many appointments we've gone on. So 2,697 appointments set on the buy side, and we're showing 53% of the times that we set an appointment, we actually meet with them. And this is well below the number I told you, which was between 60 and 70%. I know we do better than this, but the agents aren't moving. So you go into follow up, boss, you change the status. You have to do this. But if I've got 55 people on the team, and of the 55, 9 or 10 of them aren't following the process, and then the other 30
Yeah.
haven't updated their CRM, this is where we end up. So these numbers are never, I mean, I'm not going to micromanage 55 people, but they're never going to be incredibly accurate. But look, if I get a 63% of the time that we meet with somebody, we sign them, I'll take that, which I was telling you, my number was like really between like 60 and 70%, 75 being really good. And then this is a really large lagging indicator, because you could be working with somebody for many, many months before they actually go under contract, right? You can't really control, but you can control your pipeline, keeping it full. You just can't control when people are going to buy and sell.
Yeah. Yeah. So buyers signed, that's buyer rep agreements being signed.
That is correct. And it's
Okay.
an easy one to track now because they're required.
Yeah. Yeah.
So when you leave an appointment, you either got a buyer rep sign or you got a listing sign. Now, if you look at our listings, we're not going on enough listing appointments because we've set 160. 99% of the time that we set an appointment, we meet with the appointment. And oh, by the way, 99% of the time we set an appointment, we get the listing.
That's some pretty damn good conversion rates right there.
It's deceiving. It's just showing you we're just not going on enough appointments.
Yeah.
I need to be told no more. I'd rather this be a 70%.
Because you're
but
going
I'd
on
also
more.
like to see this instead of 160. I'd like to see this at like 300.
Yeah. Yeah. That
or
makes
more,
sense.
right? It's saying right here we should have gone on based on our goals. At this point, we should have gone on 517, and that might be. I need to check and see if this is like month over month, but you can see we're not anywhere on pace. Now we're
I see.
ahead
It's
of
closing
where
the
it says we're
loop
on pace.
as you get
That's
closer
right.
to your goal. Okay.
Correct. That's
Oh,
correct.
I like that.
Now, if I went and looked at this from this month, so you can change the views on this thing all the time. But if you're tracking again, so it's saying that we should have set 51 listing appointments. We're at 18, so we're way off. But if you look at listing sign, we're halfway. And you look at listings under contract, we should have 21. We're at 9. But we're in this Zillow Flex environment where we got more leads, and what happens when you got more leads? Agents, they're just constantly chasing the new stuff. So
Yeah.
That's a conversation for another day.
Gotcha. And I appreciate you sharing that. I love that. That's going to resonate.
And I'm transparent. Like, I know there's a lot of people out there who are like, oh, we do this, we do that. Like, no, look, we've sold, 320 something homes this year. We've got probably 100 under contract. If I had to bet what's like outstanding, that's not loaded into Sisu. But that's just, but it also takes me 55 agents. So it's like, I look at it for anybody who's out there thinking about running a team. Here's what I've learned. You're typically going to get your per agent productivity when you start to get much bigger is going to be 1. You get 55 agents, you're probably going to have 55 pending contracts, which is about what we've been doing consistently for the last several months. You get smaller and leaner, your average person might be closer to 2 to 1.5. But at the end of the day, if one of those agents leaves you, it could really like completely affect your bottom line and gut your business. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I've learned that you have one of two choices. Either you stay super lean and mean, or you go so freaking big that like you just got to be big. So we're in a point now where we were in that messy middle for a long time, and now we're really scaling to be that, super mega team.
Because now if one or if 2 leave you, it's not as big of an impact.
It's 7 could leave,
Yeah.
and 7 probably. So like, I mean, we're letting people go because they're not, hitting the performance standards, or they're not, doing certain, they're not good for the core values. Right.
Yeah.
So like, it's just part of, so you have to keep the flywheel of recruiting constantly going all the time.
Yeah.
And that's why I was telling you, like, my big goal right now is creating that flywheel where we're consistently getting, where we're hiring 6 to 10, or 5 agents every month.
Hmm.
Because we're going to lose some. You got attrition, retention. It's just part of life,
Yeah,
man.
that's business. So you've got this, and you kind of mentioned it a little bit earlier. You've got this framework called "Do the Two." It sounds so simple, but it can literally generate 40 plus closings a year. So can you
And
maybe?
full transparency, I ripped this off from Adam Hergenrother. So anybody watching this, like Adam
Okay.
Hergenrother, Livian, like good friend of mine, thought it was genius, so I stole it.
So for us that don't know who that is or what it's about, and I appreciate the disclaimer, unpack that for us. Can you nutshell that? What is that?
Yeah, so I'm going to give you guys. So we call this, and I'm going to pull my notes up in my phone, and I'm like an avid note taker. Okay, it's called the 4 agreements that drive agent productivity. You ready?
The 4 agreements. Okay.
Yeah, 4 agreements. So number 1 agreement is show up for everything.
That seems simple enough. What does that mean? Show up for everything.
Yeah, so like if you've got a team meeting, if you've got scripting and role playing and training, if you talk about showing up to work every day. I mean, how many real estate agents don't even show up to a quote unquote an office? Now, there's so many people, and I don't want to get on a tangent because I know there's probably some people who work really well at home.
Mm-hmm.
I am not one of those people. Way too many distractions. I'm here with you today because I had a little dental appointment, but I would have taken this in my office. I make sure that I go somewhere where there is not the distractions of laundry and TV and cleaning and all the things. Like, because let's just be real, that's what it is. Like, if somebody wants to just go jump on the couch and go watch Netflix and chill, they have that option.
Yeah.
For me, it doesn't work. I need to be in an environment. Now, I've done this for 15 years where I've created the discipline of showing up to an office. So that's what I mean when I say show up to everything. So even if like you get dressed every morning, you know what I mean, and you walk into your home office, get dressed
Yeah.
every morning and walk into your home. Create a ritual so that like when you go in that room, like the flip, the switch is flipped.
Yeah.
And now I'm going from my house to work. But also I want to treat my house like my house, the place where I go to relax,
Yeah.
not to the place that I go to work.
Yeah. Yeah. I follow you.
And again, I don't, this is not a dig to anyone who works from home. So I want to be
Yeah.
very
You
clear
figured
on
out how Trey works, similar to me. I
Doesn't work
have
for
to
me,
leave
man.
the house and go to the office. Yeah.
So did you hit your commitments? Right? What were the commitments? What are you grateful for? Like, those are things you just need to think about every day. Okay. So report your number 2, report your numbers 5 out of 7 days on CSU. Did you sign something? Did you sell something? Did you set an appointment? Did you add folks to your database? And it could be just the stuff we were talking about, your KPIs, like here's my database, right? I'm working in my business. I'm in follow-up boss. I'm moving everybody around the different stages. I'm tracking, I'm measuring. And then I think if you met with somebody today and you're only supposed to meet with 2 people, and I'm not talking about these can't be the same people over and over again. This has to be new people, right? Let me be very clear on that. This is new people. But if you can't count. It's got to be a new appointment, and they have to show some interest in real estate, whether that's a buyer consultation or a listing consultation, right? So number 3 is real simple. It's do the 2, and then I have this here. So I'll take you through the mindset and those numbers we talked about earlier. So you hold 2 appointments per week, which is 48 weeks in a year, 96 appointments. And if you convert those appointments at 75%, so of the 96, you converted them 96, excuse me, at 75%, that means 75% of those people said, I'm going to work with you. Now that might be a high number for most people. That's why I said we can manipulate these numbers and run them down however you want. If I were a new agent, I'd say my number would probably be 50%. But if I'm a veteran agent who's got some pretty decent skills, I'd say 75 to 80% is likelihood.
Okay.
So you end up signing 65 buyers and sellers. Now, of those 65 buyers and sellers, you only convert, and I say only, 70% of those to and under contract. So 70% of the 65 you take under contract. And then so that ends up being 50. So you have quote unquote 50 pending contracts. And then you're giving yourself a 10% fallout, meaning inspections, contingencies, financing, appraisals, whatever. 10%. You're giving yourself 10%, which puts you at 45 closings per year.
Got it.
And then the last one is add 5 people to your database every week. And if you go back and you read The Millionaire Real Estate Agent, I think these numbers have changed a little bit, but he used to say 12-2, which meant, so if you had, let's say 250 people, let's just make easy math, 200 people in your database, 12% of that database is going to transact with you. So let's say 6% is actually going to do business with you. They'll buy and or sell real estate. And the other 6% will refer you to someone else. So there's your 12%. Okay. Now the new data suggests something very different. It's more like 10%, which says 6% of your database will refer you and 4% will use you. But that's if you follow the process of like a 36 touch or some sort of like top of mind awareness, system.
The 4 agreements aren't necessarily, this isn't what people need to write down. These are your 4 agreements. Is that right?
Well, this is what I stole from Adam Hergenrother.
Okay. So his actual
so the 4 agreements
is
he's saying that if I'm an agent, these are the 4 things that I agree I commit to.
Okay.
I show up every day. Okay. I'm reporting my numbers 5 out of 7 days. I'm going to hold 2 new appointments every week for 48 weeks, which is 96 med appointments. And then I'm going to add 5 people to my database every week.
Okay.
So again, the goal is purely from a simplistic standpoint. Remember this: complexity kills, simplicity scales. So I don't want to overcomplicate this thing. And this is a process that if people just stop trying to hack their way to the easy button, which if you watched my Instagram, I got on a tangent one day and my videographer just happened to be there and catch it. But what happens is when we go through these systems or these processes and we experience the rejection, the shit we don't want to do, the grit, we develop this grit. We develop like disciplines. We flex our, you know what I mean? It's like going to the gym when you're constantly compounding on like lifting more weight and lifting more weight. What happens? Your muscles grow.
Yeah.
So if you try to skip the steps, you're never going to develop the disciplines.
You can't.
You're never going to compound on the weight and strength gain. You follow me?
Yeah.
Different
you can't skip the steps. You literally, you just literally cannot do it.
You'll never be the person you will become or you could become by skipping the steps.
Yeah. Agreed. Man, this has been some powerful stuff. It's everything I hoped it would be, just listening to some of the interviews, that you've done. I'm sure our friends listening right now have like a blueprint, like a playbook. You screen shared your numbers, full transparency, just, willing to give away the secret sauce.
Well, there is no, and I don't have to tell you, Cole, there's no secret sauce, right? There's either, there's do the work or don't do the work. There's you can kind of do the work, but as long as you're kind of doing the work, you're going to get kind of doing the work results. It is what it is. So like you can choose your hard. This is something Tom Ferry says all the time. And a lot of people actually say this. So it's hard to be broke. Yes or yes. It's hard to be wealthy. Yes or yes. I mean, it's the work it takes to get there is hard. So which one are you going to choose? You're going to choose to be broke or you're going to choose to be wealthy?
Yeah.
You have a choice. You could pick your hard. For me, I choose to do the things that I want to do because I look at success and wealth as in do what I want, when I want, with who I want.
Freedom.
Yeah. But I also am willing to do all the things that most people aren't willing to do today, so I can live like most people won't be able to live when they're in their 50s and 60s.
Yeah. And I'm going to throw you mentioned Jim Rohn. I'm a huge fan. I got to see him live before he passed. That was really, really cool. So there's several of them, but one of his quotes, my kids can recite this verbatim because I've beat it into their head over the years. And that is the two types of pain. Are you familiar with that one?
100%, man. So my favorite quote, you say this because I got to talk about Nick Saban, but go for it.
Yeah, no. So there's only two kinds of pains. There's the pain of discipline and the pain of regret. The difference is while discipline weighs ounces, regret weighs tons. I love that because like you said, it's going to be hard either way.
Dude, so now I know where Nick Saban got it. I swear I thought Nick Saban developed this quote, but this is what he says. It's identical to what you just said, except he doesn't use weight. He says, there's two pains in life. There's the pain of discipline and there's the pain of disappointment. If you can work through the pain of discipline, you will never have to experience disappointment.
Yeah, 100%. Same.
I'm a huge Nick Saban guy.
He may have trend jacked that from Jim Rohn, but
he totally jacked that.
Oh, love it.
I'm going to get on to him next time I see him.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Man, so something that I want to share with our friends that you've offered is this roadmap to 24 plus homes per year. Is that something that maybe we can include in the comments below? There's like an actual tangible document that we can send them.
It is 100%. Yeah, it's funny because my marketing director and we finished it this week, and then now we're like kind of tweaking it and making it look really pretty because the goal is to give it away. So as of, I would imagine today, tomorrow, it'll be complete. So my goal is just to give it to as many people as I can, and I hope a tremendous amount of people will find value.
Love it. So he'll send that my way, and then we'll make sure we include that in the comments below so you can get a link to that. Trey, man, I really appreciate you carving time out. It's been an absolute pleasure. I mean, this has been power packed. So thanks so much for your time. I appreciate you.
Yeah, you got it, man. Thank you.
All right, brother. All right, friends. So let's hit the highlights from Trey. We're in the action economy where knowledge without execution means like absolutely nothing. At the core of this business, it all starts with conversations that lead to appointments and appointments that lead to closings. To do that consistently, you've got to protect your mindset with daily habits. So lock in a cadence of accountability so you don't drift, and keep it simple with Trey's do the 2 rule. 2 real estate appointments per week, every week. That's simple. So here's your action step. When this episode ends, when you hit stop, open up your calendar, schedule 2 appointments for this week. It could be a buyer consult. It could be a seller listing appointment, even a coffee with someone in your database. It doesn't matter. Lock in those 2 conversations right now. Good luck.